Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank all three of you for the work you're doing and your strong leadership of the Air Force and Space Force. It's very much appreciated, and you're willing to be creative and innovative as we need to be these days. Secretary Kendall, I was just in South Korea and Taiwan. Clearly both want to continue to build their defenses and work with us to do so. In regard to Taiwan, they have about $19+ billion in hardware, military hardware that they've ordered and that they're paying for and that they're waiting for, and they're obviously anxious to upgrade their defenses and to do it soon. What can we do to help? And things like the F-16, obviously, very important to them right now. What can we do to accelerate getting them those weapon systems, and what can we do to work together jointly to strengthen their defenses?
Good questions, Hoeven. The best place to defend Taiwan from is Taiwan. And in having Taiwanese have the capability to defend themselves against the threat that they face, I think is a high priority for us. The F-16s are a program that we're trying to move through some supply chain and some production difficulties to get into place. Getting through the bureaucratic pipeline would be very helpful, getting those sales approved. One of the things that we've been working with Taiwan on is the mix of things that they have in their military to make sure that it's appropriate to the mission that they have their highest priority. I think you may have seen in the press recently that they're buying or attempting to buy some Harpoon anti-ship missiles, which would be very helpful, actually. So we are working with Taiwan. It's not an area that I'm leading in, but it's one that we work very hard on to make sure that their requirements are met. At the end of the day, Taiwan has got to decide for themselves what they want to have in their inventory. But once they do that, and we're happy to advise them on that, then we need to do everything we can to move that through as efficiently and effectively as possible. Yeah, appreciate your support for that.
Absolutely, and we want to work with you and with General Brown, General Saltzman to find ways to maybe help our military-industrial complex respond faster, not only for their needs, but also for yours, for ours.
Absolutely.
Along those lines, General Brown, in regard to modernization in your comments, all three of you, which I absolutely agree with, vitally important, the effort to modernize the nuclear mission, which is incredibly important, certainly important to our chairman and myself with bases in Malmstrom and at Minot Air Force Base, Minot being the only dual nuclear base. How are we doing? And we worked very hard to fund this. How are we doing? Are we on schedule with modernization of both not only the B-52, but the LRSO as a replacement to the LCM, and also with the GBSD as a replacement to the ICBND?
Senator Hoeven, one of the things that's been really helpful to maintain the timelines associated with these programs in the nuclear portfolio is the consistent funding and full funding. And that's helped us move in a very positive way. What I would tell you as we look at like Sentinel, for example, and the B-52, we do know that as we go into these large programs that there's potential supply chain and other issues. And we're working very closely internally with our industry partners to look ahead and figure out how best to do long lead items well in advance. And so we're being able to restructure some of our approaches, acquisition approaches, with Dr. LaPlante from OSD to help mitigate those areas so we can keep everything on time. And in some cases, we're moving things forward. For example, some of our telecommunication lines, we're moving those forward so we actually can get ahead in certain areas and we don't have anything on a critical path that's going to impact the overall program. So good collaboration with internal to the Department of the Air Force, but also with OSD and our industry partners.
Thank you. General Saltzman, in regard to both the LEO mission, which we work with, are you on schedule for getting those low Earth orbit satellites into space for the comms mission? Can you do so under the budget you have? And also, what is your plan for upgrading parks in a timely way for the, obviously highlighted by the recent Chinese spy balloon?
Yeah, thank you, sir. First, the Space Development Agency is on track. We conducted our first launch of Tranche 0 just a couple of weeks ago. Satellites are performing well. And as I mentioned earlier, tremendous success, and I think it demonstrates a new model for acquisition. 27 months from putting it on contract, on order, to being on orbit. Wow. Which is a pretty impressive capability, especially for space. acquisition. The Congress added $250 million, which we greatly appreciated, to accelerate those. We're going to need the launch investment now to actually pay for the putting them on orbit. So I think there's some cleanup that we're going to do across the program to make sure that happens. But the good news is we're on track to not only deliver those capabilities, but accelerate the delivery of those capabilities. And with regards to the Parks radar, we have, with the plus up, again, thanks to Congress, we are looking at, through RDT&E, what is the most appropriate way to upgrade them, move them from analog capabilities into more digital. That includes data storage, some beam forming. We're going to bring that radar into the 21st century and make sure that it can meet all those space situational awareness as well as missile warning responsibilities.
Thanks, General. I want to thank the chairman and ranking member of this committee, too, for accelerating some of that funding in the last go-round, which I agree was and felt was very important for that low Earth orbit satellite mission. And we're seeing how important that is with what's going on. Thanks to all three of you again.